Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Hi, everybody, and a very special Sunday to you, this final day of the regular season. Welcome to Dodger Stadium and the final meeting with Colorado. Interesting, the Dodgers in first place, the Rockies in last place. Going head-to-head, they have split 18, so the Rockies have a chance to beat the Dodgers. Dodgers haven't lost a season series to Colorado since 2007. And for the Dodgers, not exactly looking sharp, getting ready for the playoffs. The month of September has been full of anguish and injuries. They are 12-14. On the mound today will be Hyun-Jin Ryu trying to win his 15th after Zach Greinke failed to win his 16th last night. And on the mound for Colorado, a former 17-game winner, always a starter. They sent him down to AAA and have made a reliever out of him. But today, on the final day of the season, Jeff Francis will make a start. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. Hyundai dealers. Come test drive the fun-to-drive 2013 Sonata. And buy Jack in the Box. Go big at a participating Jack in the Box with Jack's really big chicken sandwich combos for only $3.99 plus tax.
It's a vision that people will remember for a long time. The Adult Swim in Arizona. That's when the Dodgers locked up their first division championship since 2009. A sellout crowd and a Dodger blue sky welcomes you to Chavez Ravine for game number 162. Jim Watson and Steve Lyons in center field. It was a long time ago. Pitchers and catchers reporting Camelback Ranch in Arizona. The Dodgers came together full of potential and promise. 8 months later, they've reached their first goal, division champions. For guys like Yasiel Puig, no big deal. It's his first time around. He's been here 100 days. But for guys like Hanley Ramirez, 1,090 games before he reaches the second season. This is an opportunity. They need to savor this moment.
It's been 25 years since they won a World Series. This organization and the fans that follow it have gone through a lot of tough times. You're in the playoffs again. Let yourself feel the excitement. Open your eyes. Look around. The old cliches. Smell the roses. These guys got to have a good time, and it's going to have a lot to do with how much fun their fans have watching them do it.
Right now, the Dodgers look to be playing Atlanta on Thursday. In Atlanta in game one of the NLDS. Atlanta is winning right now 10-4. St. Louis is also winning. It could switch. Join us back here on the postgame show. We'll break it all down for you. Hyun-Jin Ryu goes today for the Dodgers, looking for win number 15. And Todd Helton closes out a 17-year career. Dodgers and the Rockies. Have a good one.
You, wherever you may be, we're at Dodger Stadium. It's coming to the end, and at the same time, it's the beginning. The Dodgers and the Rockies will close it. The Dodgers then will work out here until Tuesday afternoon, and from the looks of things, the Dodgers will be going to Atlanta. It all depends on whether the Cardinals win. It's out of the Braves' hands. The Braves are winning 10-4 in the sixth inning. But the more important score is the fact the Cardinals are leading the Cubs 3-0 in the seventh. So if the Cardinals win, they play the winner of the wild card, and the Dodgers will go to Atlanta. As we have mentioned earlier, Atlanta has beaten the Dodgers 5 of 7, but that was back in May when the Dodgers are not nearly the team they are today. Meanwhile, we'll take a look now at the starting lineup as far as the Colorado Rockies are concerned. Charlie Blackmon will lead off, followed by Josh Rutledge and then Todd Helton. Troy Tulowitzki at short, Michael Kadaya in right field, Nolan Arenado at third base, Charlie Culberson in left. Then you have Jordan Pacheco behind the plate, and Jeff Francis on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, ready to do battle, that would be Hyun-Jin Ryu with a record of 14-7. Ryu is 7-3 at home, and he is 7-4 away from home. So the Dodgers hoping he'll finish up on a winning note here and pick up his 15th victory. The 16th win certainly eluded last night's starting pitcher Zach Greinke, who allowed one run, and it was enough to beat him. First pitch now into Charlie Blackmon, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Blackmon 1 for 4 yesterday, struggling on a road trip, and fouls the next pitch back, and the count 0-2. Charlie on the road trip 1 for 8. As we go throughout the game, we should talk about the batting champions, those who lead in the various divisions. And certainly the batting champion this year in the National League is a member of the Rockies. The pitch to Charlie Blackmon off the plate, and a 1-2 count. A beautiful summer's afternoon. There is no taste of fall, not here. It's 85 degrees right now. The 1-2 pitch from Ryu, big overhand breaking ball, misses, and the count 2-2. Michael Kadaya began the day 12 points ahead of Johnson, the member of the Atlanta Braves, and so Kadaya is going to winning batting championship. Next pitch fouled away. As far as home runs are concerned, it looks like Paul Goldschmidt would have that locked up, although he is tied right now with Pedro Alvarez, each with 36. Skimming the cream off the top in the other various areas. The slugging percentage, the Rockies have a shortstop, Troy Tulowitzki, who is right behind Paul Goldschmidt. Michael Kadaya, among other things, also leads in hitting in the daytime. Michael batting .395, so Kadaya is down hitting 5th in the lineup. We'll have more to say about him. 3-2 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off. Fastball in on the hands at 92, and Charlie fouled it away. Blackmon against left-handers hitting .279. Josh Rutledge is on deck, hitting second in the lineup. Blackmon .279 against left, .316 against right-hand pitching. He takes high, ball 4, and Charlie Blackmon begins with a walk. And Charlie has good running speed. But take a look at the Dodgers defensively now, and there's no big changes in the sense Gonzalez and Mark Ellis. Hanley Ramirez resting today. Michael Young plays short. Then Juan Uribe. The outfield with Carl Crawford in left. Schumacher still spelling Matt Kemp out with a sore ankle. Yasiel Puig returns to the starting lineup. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. So the walk to Blackmon. Blackmon, by the way, is 7 for 7 in stolen bases. And the first pitch to Rutledge, in for a strike, 0-1. So Ryu keeping an eye on Blackmon as Charlie lynches off. A little bit at stake today, pride for sure. Strike one pitch is fouled at the plate, 0-2. The Dodgers have not lost a season series to the Rockies since 2007. Well, this series is up for grabs. Walt Weiss's club, despite being in last place and the Dodgers being in first place, they have split the previous 18, 9 apiece. And the Rockies have one more here. A drive to right field. Puig's going to have to play it on a bounce. Going into second base ahead of the play is Blackmon. So just like that, Ryu starts off in trouble. Runners at first and second, nobody out. And now coming up, and we never know whether it's going to be his last at bat or not. Here's Todd Helton, who was saluted before the game and received a stadium ovation as it was announced that this would be his final game. Todd hitting .249, 15 home runs, 61 RBIs, 40 years old, 17 magnificent years in the National League. Ryu deals, fouled away, and the count 0-1. Todd taking his cap off, receiving the plaudits of the crowd and from his teammates and the opposition. The Dodgers all joined in applauding him as well. Hugs down on the field. Tommy Lasorda popping up out of nowhere. 0-1 the count. Ryu delivers, fastball low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Todd. If you wanted to talk about Todd's accomplishments, you would have a show of about an hour all by itself. 369 home runs, over 1,400 RBIs, over 2,500 hits as he waves at a slow breaking ball 1 and 2. Helton, of course, and it's typical of him, he has not had a good series. He is not only 0 for 6 in the series, he has struck out 3 times. And he knew a left-hander was going, but he still did not want to bail, so he's in the lineup against Ryu. 1-2 pitch on the way to Todd, swung on, and a base hit into right field. Holding at third base is Blackman as Puig runs it in way off the plate. Great save by A.J. Ellis. Bad throw by Puig. So the bases are loaded, and for Todd Helton, he gets a base hit. And of course, every time he comes to the plate, we're thinking, well, maybe that'll be it. But I don't believe it is it. So for Todd, congratulated by Adrian Gonzalez, a line drive single to right. He said goodbye to the people in Denver on a great and emotional evening. First time up, he received a standing ovation and promptly hit a home run. Later on, he had a sacrifice fly to pick up an RBI. Finished up that last game in Denver with a double. So he went out with guns blazing, and now here today, a single to right to load him up. And the batter is Troy Tulowitzki. Tulo takes off the plate, ball 1. So a shaky start certainly for Hyun-Jin Ryu. 2 singles and a walk. Tulowitzki has 2 grand slams in his career against Arizona and San Diego. Both of them hit a long time ago, 07 and 08. 1-0 pitch. Troy takes very high, ball 2. Let's face it, the Dodgers have not looked like a ball club that was ready to play in the playoffs. No matter how you want to defend them, like regulars playing one day, not playing the next day, etc. One thing, in the month of September, they've won 12 and lost 14. The 2-0 pitch on the way is swung on and hit into left field for a base hit. 1 run will score. The Rockies will go station to station, and they immediately take a 1-0 lead. And for Ryu, he hadn't come close yet after giving up a walk and 3 straight singles. So Tulowitzki, base hit, run batted in. Helton to second, Rutledge to third. Blackman brings the run in. And the batter now is the National League batting champion for 2013, Michael Kadire. Johnson could not catch him. Michael hitting .333, 20 home runs, 64 runs batted in. A very, very valuable part of the Rockies' present and future. He's way out in front, and 0-1 the count. Kadire, who has played a while, has 7 grand slams. Though a veteran up there, bases loaded, nobody out, 1 run in, and Kadire trying to kind of break it wide open. Ryu's next pitch swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. Michael Kadire is born in Norfolk, Virginia, lives in Chesapeake, Virginia. He signed with the Twins. He was a first-round pick. Tremendous talent, signed for a lot of money, and spent a long time with the Twins. He takes a breaking ball low. Came up with Minnesota in 2001. Stayed with them until he came to the Rockies in 2012. Michael Waiting, 34 years old, 6'2", 220. Ryu trying to wiggle off a hook, comes with a fastball on the outside corner at the knees. Strike 3 call. So Kadire, who's a pretty good magician with the cards, disappears at the plate, looking at strike 3. 1 out, and Nolan Arenado, the young third baseman, coming up as Kadaya retires to the dugout. Arenado last night had a double and a single. His double drove in the only run of the game, scoring Troy Tulowitzki, and that gave the Rockies the 1-0 lead. He went 0 for 3 in the game that the Dodgers won 11-0. So Kadar waiting, right-hand hitter, infield is back, fastball swung on and missed. 0-1 the count to Nolan Arenado. So to repeat, Blackman walked, Rutledge singled him to second, Helton singled to load the bases, Tulowitzki singled to left to drive in a run. Kadar caught looking, and here's Arenado. Strike 1 pitch on the way, pop foul off to the right, out of play. Rutledge at third, Helton at second, Tulowitzki at first, and Ryu trying to get out of a mess. Sellout crowd, fan appreciation day. They're still coming in. Ryu looks to get a sign. Hyun-jin set. Left-hander deals very high. That brought Ellis up out of the crouch. 1-2. Nolan Arenado, facing Ryu, has 1 grand slam. He hit it this year against Tampa Bay. We're just waiting for more of a report on the Cardinal game. What Atlanta does really isn't of great importance. If St. Louis wins, that's that. The next pitch, check swing on a pitch off the plate, strike 3. So Arenado strikes out. 2 down here in the first inning. And that will bring up Culberson. The latest, the Cardinals lead the Cubs 3-0 in the 8th inning. So if the Cardinals win, the Dodgers go to Atlanta. It's as simple as that. So Charlie Culberson will check in, hitting .292, 2 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Rutledge, Helton, Tulowitzki out on the lines. Ryu ready, delivers, gets a strike on the outside corner. 0-1. So Hyun-jin started off wobbly, a walk and 3 straight singles. Now he has 2 straight strikeouts. 0-1 the count. Ryu comes back 0-1. Fastball just off the plate, and the count 1 ball 1 strike. For young Charlie Culberson, no grand slams. Ryu trying to put him away and get out of the inning. Very light breeze, barely a zephyr going from right to left. Ryu ready, here he comes, busted bat, ground ball to short, the shovel to second to the force play. So all things considered, Ryu got out of the inning cheaply enough. Bases loaded, nobody out with a run in, and he then gets the next 3. The Rockies lead 1-0. and the bases loaded, nobody out, and got the next 3 hitters. So he certainly got out of a jam. Among other things, he surrendered base hit 2005-19 to Todd Helton. Here's the Dodger lineup now. Yasiel Puig leading off in right field, Carl Crawford in left, and Michael Young at short. Adrian Gonzalez at first base, Mark Ellis at second base, Juan Uribe at third, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, Skip Schumacher in center field batting 8th, and Hyun-Jin Ryu batting 9th. On the mound is Jeff Francis, and what a pitcher he was, with the accent on was, unfortunately. In 2007, Francis was the ace of the staff. He was 17-9. He started game 1 in all 3 rounds of the 2007 playoffs, including the World Series against the Boston Red Sox. Jeff is from Vancouver, Canada, still lives up there. 6'5", 220. First pitch is hit foul off to the right in a while for Puig to swing at the first pitch. 0-1 the count. We know that 9 of his home runs have been hit on the first pitch. Francis ready. Jeff comes back, and that swung on and fouled away, and it's still 0-2. By the way, last night we were talking about Juan Nicasio, who was hit in the head by a line drive. Well, Jeff Francis experiences the same thing as Puig swings and misses and strikes out, 1 away. What happened with Jeff Francis? Well, he suffered one of those pitching nightmares. Carl Crawford's coming up, and they have dusted off the theme from Sanford and Son, and the theme. They're always teasing Crawford about the way he walks, though they dusted off the theme song. Carl hitting and takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Carl Crawford sharpening up and looks very sharp. Francis checks. Jeff ready, comes back, and is fouled off. It was a long time ago, but I'm sure Jeff Francis never forgot it. It was August of 2002. He spent the night in the hospital after being hit in the left side of the head by a line drive. It was a foul ball that came into the dugout. Strike 2 pitch, reach for, plunked into right center, and it's going to be caught on a good burst of speed by Charlie Blackmon. 2 down. Yeah, Jeff Francis minding his own business in A ball in Asheville. He was hit near the left temple, and then for good measure fell, struck his head on the dugout's concrete floor. With all of that, he was fortunate. He suffered a mild concussion. All he did was miss 1 start. Juan Nicasio was seriously hit. We talked about him last night. The pitch away now to Michael Young. So Michael has touched all the bases. He has played first base, second base, third base, and now for good measure today playing shortstop. Takes off the plate, so they count his way. 2 balls and no strikes. Michael really brought along his talents to the Dodgers at the right time. He promptly hits a bullet backhanded by Arenado to take a double away from him. Nice play by Nolan. Down go the Dodgers, 1-2-3, and at the end of an inning, it's 1-0 Rockies. who has been brilliant as far as rookies are concerned. He is second with his 14 wins, ERA second, and innings pitched he is first. So Ryu right behind Shelby Miller of the Cardinals for victories at 15, trying to pick it up today. The batter now is Jordan Pacheco, the catcher, who is catching all 3 games of the series, and the first pitch in for a strike. Pacheco last night had 1 hit, went 1 for 3. Game before 0 for 3. Ground ball back a third, foul. So Pacheco back up, and the count 0-2. For the Colorado Rockies, for the 8th time, they have a National League batting champion. This would be Michael Kadaya in right field. Just to touch the base and bring back some rather great names and memories. The strike 2 pitch popped in the air to right field. Cruising over is Puig. He's there to one-handed for the out. So Pacheco goes down, and the batter now, Jeff Francis. The Rockies champions way back in 1993, 20 years ago. The big cat, Andres Galarraga, hit .370 to win the batting crown. Then one of the great Rockies of all time from Canada, Larry Walker. The pitch to Francis, a strike. 98, Walker hit .363. 99, he hit .379. 2001, Larry hit .350. The next pitch to Francis misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Then you get Todd Helton in 2000. He won the batting crown, hitting .372. The next one in for a strike. 1-2. Matt Holliday in 2007 won the crown, hitting .340. The next one, the 1-2 pitch swung on, hit in the air to center. Schumacher going back, reaches up and has to chase it to the wall, and Francis goes into second base with a long double. So Francis hits one over the head of Schumacher, unable to run it down, and with 1 out, Rockies have a runner in scoring position, and Charlie Blackmon coming up. The one thing that Schumacher did that a really good major league center fielder would not do, he went back looking up at the ball. Most really good center fielders, and after all, Schumacher plays second base, right field, he's all over the place. But most center fielders in the big leagues turn their back on the home run ball or the long fly, and then on the dead run pick it off at the right spot. But that was over his head, and he just couldn't reach it. So the batter Blackmon, who walked and scored a run, and he takes ball 1. Carlos Gonzalez, who has not made an appearance in the series, he won the batting crown in 2010, hitting .336. And then, of course, as we said, Michael Kadaya has won it this year. Line drive, base hit to left with the ball hit ahead of him. Francis could only go to third. So one thing for sure, Ryu is not exactly fooling him. But when the chips were down, he struck out Kadaya and Arenado and got Culberson with the bases loaded in the first inning. So 1 out, first and third, and the shortstop Josh Rutledge coming up. And looking up about Jeff Francis as he stands at third. That's his 7th career double, but the first one in 5 years. Pitch fouled away, 0-1. That's right. Francis' last double was 2008. 0-1 the count. Jeff Francis, big guy whose nickname was Boomer. Remember Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion, the great hockey player. Pitch inside. Well, he grew up in Canada. Didn't use a hockey stick. He used the baseball bat to drive it over Schumacher's head. Jeff's a big boy, 6'5", 220. So first and third, 1 out, 1-0 Rockies. Ryu delivers, swung on and missed. 1-2. Rutledge singled to right field in the first inning. Rockies 1 run, 5 hits. Dodgers went out in order, although Michael Young lost an extra base hit on a great backhand catch of his line drive by Nolan Arenado. The next one way inside. 2-2 the count to Josh Rutledge. Hunjin 14-7, 7-3 here at Dodger Stadium. Left-hander number 3 in the big 3, and his 2-2 pitch on the way. Fastball high, ball 3. 3-2 the count. With 14 wins as a rookie, that would tie Kaz Ishii. Rick Sutcliffe won 17 games back in 1979 in his first rookie year. 3-2 pitch instead, throw to first. Back on the bag is Blackman. Blackman runs very well. Remember, he's 7 for 7, so they might turn him loose with 1 out on a 3-2 count to Josh Rutledge. Charlie takes his lead. Ryu looks, he doesn't go, and the pitch is swung on and missed. So Rutledge strikes out. That would be the 3rd strikeout for Ryu. Once again, maybe he's practicing getting out of jams.
Batting next, number 17, Todd Helton.
So Todd Helton coming up, and Helton singled to right field in the first inning. 2,519 base hits. Todd hitting .251 with his first hit in the series. 1 for 7. Takes a pitch above his head for ball 1. They're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Cardinals are leading the Cubs 4-0. I'm sure traveling secretary Scott Akasaki is watching that game right by the telephone. Here's the next pitch to Helton, and that misses. 2-0 the count. Naturally, the traveling secretary of the Dodgers could not commit. Wasn't sure, were we going to St. Louis or Atlanta, so he had to book hotels in both cities. Hence Helton fouls it away, 2-1. So in a little while, hopefully for Scott's sanity, he'll know for sure we're going to Atlanta. We'll make the reservations, which have already been made, just confirm them, and cancel out in St. Louis. 2-1 pitch coming up. Ryu deals in there. So it's 2-2 the count to Todd Helton. Todd got a lovely farewell ovation from the crowd here at Dodger Stadium. At home, he got a brand new horse for the ranch. He fouls the next pitch back. So it's still 2-2 to Todd Helton. 1-0 favor the Rockies. They have runners at first and third. They left the bases loaded in the first inning, so they could easily have kind of broken this thing wide open. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, so the deuces are wild with 2 on. And the pitch, Helton swings and doesn't get it. And there you go, hitting a ball in the air to center field, and that wraps it up. Well, Todd just missed really hitting it, but instead a lazy fly ball. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. At the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Colorado. now secure postseason tickets with the purchase of 2014 season tickets. To learn more, visit Dodgers.com/season tickets or call a season ticket representative at 323-DODGERS. Well, the Rockies making a lot of noise, and they produced only 1 run. They had 3 hits and a walk for 1 run in the first inning, and they had a single and a double and came up empty in the second inning. Ryu has now made 50 pitches in 2 innings, so he's certainly not going to be around too long as they just try to keep him sharp for the upcoming series. Adrian Gonzalez will start it off. Gonzalez followed by Mark Ellis and then Juan Uribe. Adrian with 100 runs batted in. Jeff Francis ready to go to work, and the left-hander deals, and the first pitch low and inside. Adrian showing bunt. Nobody really believed him. Meanwhile, the right side of the infield, that little triangle defense with Tulowitzki, Rutledge, and Helton. Breaking ball on the outside corner for a strike, 1-1. Josh Rutledge about 10 feet at least out into right field. Tulowitzki's on the grass as well, and there's a line drive backhanded by Helton. So the Dodgers had Young robbed of an extra base hit by Arenado. Gonzalez now losing an extra base hit on the line drive to Todd Helton. And with 1 away, Mark Ellis coming up. So Ellis basically Mr. Steady down there at second base. Mark hitting .270, 6 home runs, 48 runs batted in, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. On deck, Juan Uribe. Francis turns, ready. Strike 1 pitch is off the plate. So a once upon a time big game starter was sent down to AAA this year to learn to become a reliever. And the 1-1 pitch swung on, chopper to third, picked nicely by Arenado to throw him out. 2 down. So Francis, however, when Tyler Chatwood was not going to pitch, Walt Weiss decided, okay, we'll try Jeff. So Francis has retired 5 in a row, and the batter now, Juan Uribe. Uribe hitting .278. He has 12 home runs, 50 runs batted in. So Juan waiting. Francis into the windup. Left-hander deals, gets it in for a strike. 0-1 the count. Uribe will be followed by A.J. Ellis if he can extend the inning. Strike 1 pitch swung on, lifted to right field and deep, but not deep enough for the Dodger fans. Kadai's right there to make the catch. 1 step shy of the warning track. So a long fly ball for the out. 6 in a row retired by Francis, and at the end of 2, 1-0 Colorado. inside access to all the Dodger postseason action this year, then like the Dodgers on Facebook or follow them on Twitter and Instagram. You'll get up to the minute news, images, and more. For additional information, visit Dodgers.com/social today. Troy Tulowitzki, followed by Michael Kadaya and then Nolan Arenado. 1-0 in favor of the Rockies. Tulo, as they call him, takes off the plate, ball one. Wonderful all-around shortstop, hitting .314, 25 home runs. Nice to have a shortstop who can hit like that. The Dodgers have one in Hanley Ramirez. The next pitch in for a strike, and that balances it up. 1-1. Tulowitzki, 81 RBIs. Single to left field. Picked up a run in the first inning. Fouls the next pitch back. 1-2 to Troy Tulowitzki. 1-0 in favor of the Rockies. And we're in the top of the third inning. So we're waiting for official confirmation. We're close that we will be going to Atlanta. One ball and two strikes. Tulo back in. Ryu ready. Here he comes. In there. Strike three call. 4 strikeouts for Ryu, bobbing and weaving through a lot of trouble. And the batter now will be Michael Kadaya. The way the postseason will be for the Dodgers as far as the division series is concerned, they will open up Thursday, October the 3rd, and play Thursday and Friday. Off on Saturday, they'll work out, and they'll play here Sunday and Monday. Chopper to the hole, backhanded, long throw by Michael Young in time. Good play. 2 down. And the batter will be Nolan Arenado. And then if there is a 5th game, that would be played Wednesday, October the 9th. That would be back in, I'm assuming now, Atlanta. Not assuming too much, but you never know. Cardinals leading 4-0. They've been beating the Cubs like a drum anyway. Arenado struck out in the first inning. Ryu loaded the bases and allowed a run, and then struck out the next 2 hitters. Arenado followed by, well, actually Kadire and then Arenado, and got Culberson to hit into a force play, and that was that. 1 ball and no strikes. Next one is fouled away outside of third. It is the top of the 9th inning. The Cardinals are leading the Cubs 4-0, and there are 2 outs. So the Cardinals are 1 out away from playing the wild card winner. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on, hit in the air to right field. Puig on the run, a diving catch. He was on his hands and knees. We weren't sure. Second base umpire James Hoy had to go out into right center and signify catch. So a diving play by Yasiel, and at the end of 2.5 innings, it's 1-0 Colorado. By the play by Yasiel Puig. The ball hit by Arenado. Yasiel head first dive. Weren't sure. Instead of guessing that he caught it for sure, we were looking at the second base umpire, James Hoy, and he was out there to indicate catch. Fine play by Yasiel. Well, y'all, we're going to Georgia. Yep, we're going to Atlanta. Final score, Cardinals 4, Cubs nothing. The Cardinals win 17 of the last 22 to close the year. In September, contrary to the Dodgers, who are 12-14, the Cardinals went 19-8. And the first pitch now in for a strike to A.J. Ellis. We mentioned it last night, the difference between when the Dodgers clinched in Arizona, when they went wild. I mean, I guess you could say hog wild, and why not? They pitched Ellis a strike. But then the direct contrast with the St. Louis Cardinals. When they clinched the division, well, they'd already won 4 of the last 5, and they just kind of shook hands. There was no excitement. There was no true celebration at all. Very, very workmanlike. And then when you realize they were 19-8 in September, they will be a force to be reckoned with. But the Dodgers are not going to see them, not for a while anyway. They hope to see them eventually. Dodgers beat the Cardinals head-to-head 4 of 7. Well, they're going to play Atlanta as Ellis fouls it away. They played Atlanta and lost 5 of 7. But those games, they played Atlanta on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of May, and then played them 4 games here, June 6, 7, 8, and 9. Ellis, meanwhile, whacks it to right center field, and that one is going to be over the wall. Stopping at second base on the bounce. So A.J. Ellis going the other way, and a ground rule double to right center. Cutter and Blackman chasing it, but no play. So the Dodgers have the tying run at second base. Nobody out, with Schumacher, Ryu, and Puig coming up. So Francis leading 1-0. Schumacher, left-hand batter. Arenado wide of the bag at third, but about even with it. Helton's deep. The Shoe takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Schumacher trying to pick up a runner at second. A.J. Ellis, he has 29 runs batted in, 2 home runs. Francis set, big left-handed slow curveball fouled away. 0-2 the count. Jeff, 28 years old. We told you has that nickname Boomer. His grandfather put that on him. Boom Boom Jeffrion played for the Canadiens in the 50s and 60s. Jeff out of a stretch, and the strike 2 pitch on the way. The left-hander comes with a breaking ball away. One thing about Jeff Francis, he's very bright. He has credentials to move on when his playing days are over. His major at the University of British Columbia was physics. 1-2 pitch coming up, breaking ball, swung on and missed, and that takes care of Schumacher. So 1 out. Ellis holding at second, and Hyun-Jin Ryu coming up. Hyun-Jin Ryu trying to pick up Ellis at second. 1 out, bottom of the third. 1-0 in favor of Colorado. Francis out of his stretch, left-handed delivers and misses with the first one. 1 ball and no strikes. Ryu, not a bad hitter. He's not in the Greinke class or even the Kershaw class, but he is hitting .211, and he has piled up 12 hits. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Francis, slow breaking ball, swung on and missed. 1-1. One thing about Ryu, he not only has 3 doubles, he also has a triple. There aren't very many pitchers with a triple, and he has 5 runs batted in. So the 1-1 pitch on the way. Francis comes back, fastball low after a couple of slow curves, and the count goes 2 balls and 1 strike. Ryu has struck out about a third of the time. Dodger leadoff man Yasiel Puig out on deck. And the 2-1 pitch to Hyun-Jin Ryu, and the right-hand batter kind of waves. He was badly fooled on the pitch. That wasn't a swing. And the count 2-2. Outfield reasonably deep for a pitcher, with the center fielder Blackman a little bit over towards right center field. The 2-2 pitch coming up. Ryu swings and misses, and down he goes. So that's the 3rd strikeout for Jeff Francis. And the batter will be Puig. And Yasiel struck out in the first inning. Looking at Yasiel Puig's surprising year. Remember, he came up the first week in June. On that first pitch, if he puts it in play, he's hitting .551 with 9 of his home runs. So we'll first of all direct our attention on the first pitch. Francis set, looks back at Ellis. Left-handed delivers inside, ball 1, 1-0. At home, Yasiel hit .364 with 9 home runs here. Away, .284 with 10 home runs. Most home runs in a month, it would be June, his first month. All he did was hit .436 with 7 home runs. The 1-0 pitch, he's fooled on a change way outside, but he's able to hold up. John Hirschbeck, the first base umpire, indicating no swing. 1-1 the count. July and August, Yasiel had 3 home runs each month, and in September he has 6 home runs, but he's only hitting .217 this month. 1 ball and 1 strike. Francis ready. Another look back at Ellis. Yasiel swings, ground ball, backhanded nicely by Helton, takes it to the bag, and that's that. So the Dodgers get an opening double, leave a man, and at the end of 3 it remains Rockies 1, Dodgers nothing. Last night, they lead him 1-0 today. Time now for our Twitter poll. Who would you vote for Dodgers Rookie of the Year? Would it be Ryu or would it be Puig? So hashtag Dodger Rookie and then either Ryu or Puig, and we'll be interested in your feelings about that. We would also like to take a moment to congratulate a wonderful man, James Sims, who runs our press box here at Dodger Stadium. He and his bride celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary today. The 1-0 pitch on the way off the plate. Ball 2, 2-0. James has been here a long time and does his job with great grace. He and Robert. 2-0 pitch on the way. Swung on a hopper into left field. So Ryu starts in trouble again. A leadoff single by Culberson. So the Rockies aren't doing much with what they have, but they're still leading. Runner at first, nobody out. 4th inning. Jordan Pacheco flied to right field down the line. Puig had to run a bit to make the catch. Puig also made that diving catch of the ball hit by Arenado. A drive to left, hooking down the line, going foul. It was shy of the home run and foul by a lot, and the count 0-1. So the Rockies 1 run on 3 hits and a walk in the first inning with nobody out, and Ryu then got out of the jam. 1st and 3rd in the 2nd inning for the Rockies. 1 out, they failed to score, and now a leadoff single here in the 4th inning. Ryu deals, fastball inside, and a 1-ball 1-strike count. Ryu left foot on the rubber. Inching away is Culberson at first. Hunjin back to the plate. Culberson goes on a foul ball upstairs off to the right. Well, we see what happened today besides the fact the Cardinals decided the Dodgers are going to Atlanta. The Indians will host the wild card game, clinching that with their 10th win in a row today. Indians beat Minnesota 5-1. The Indians not only finished the year 10-0, they went 21-6 in September. And there's a shot into the gap in left center. That's a base hit. Schumacher cuts it off, holding it to a long single. Stopping at third is Culberson. And so once again, Ryu finds himself in dire straits. Just outside of Dodger Stadium. So 1st and 3rd, nobody out, with Francis, Blackman, and Rutledge coming up. So here we are. We're only in the 4th inning. Kadire and Arenado are the only 2 in the lineup without a hit. Jeff Francis checking with his third base coach, Stu Cole. Don Mattingly can't be happy at all at what he saw last night, what he has seen tonight, and for that matter, he has to be troubled. There's no getting away from it. Here we are talking about teams having a 19-5 month in September. We're talking about the Indians 21-6 in September, and we're talking about the Dodgers 12-14. The bunt is foul, and the count 0-1. So Francis back up. No balls, 1 strike. Ryu has allowed 7 hits, and he's been saved a hit on that diving catch by Puig. So Hunjin having one of those days, but still surviving. It's only 1-0. Francis shows bunt. The pitch to Jeff. He gets the bunt down. The runner at third holds. The out recorded at first. So the Rockies now have runners at 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. So the batter now, Charlie Blackman, the left-hand hitter who walked and single to left field. Rockies 1 run, 7 hits. The Dodgers have 1 hit, basically a murmur of protest. That was the double leading off by A.J. Ellis. Ryu plants the left foot. Blackman does the same, planting his left foot before he gets into the box. And here we go. Fastball, line drive, base hit to left. 1 run will score. They're going to stop Jordan Pacheco. So 1st and 3rd, 2-0 in favor of Colorado. They've had 3 hits with an out here in the 4th inning. So for Blackman, finishing up with a walk and 2 singles and a run batted in, carried in by Culberson. With 1 out, the batter now is Josh Rutledge. He singled to right and struck out. So Blackman at first, Pacheco at third, and they have to worry about Blackman running. The first pitch is hit foul off to the right out of play. 0-1 the count to Rutledge. So the catcher, Jordan Pacheco, standing on the line at third, watching Cole. Perhaps fast a sign over to Blackman. Ryu down 2-0, set at the belt, and the strike 1 pitch, a dribbler back to the box. They've got the runner between third and home, and the tag will be made by Uribe. So Pacheco committed on a dribbler back to the box, and he's erased from Ryu to Uribe. 1-5 on the play. Blackman goes to second, and Rutledge go to first. So 2 out in the 4th inning, still 2-0, and now Todd Helton, who singled and flied to center deep, coming up. Todd 1 for 2. Todd in his final game of the year, waiting, and the first pitch is taken off the plate, ball 1. Some people thought that Todd would make a token appearance, maybe having that bat in the first inning. He bats third in the lineup and then come out. But no, it looks like he wants to play it to the very end. The 1-1 pitch, low and away, ball 2. And for Todd, it was certainly not the bitter end. It has been certainly a fulfilling career, 17 years. And as he said, I'm 40, and it's a young man's game. 2-1 the count. Ryu checks, ready, deals. Pitch is hit in the air, back a third, slicing foul. Uribe comes over, leans in, but no play. So Blackman goes back to second. Rutledge goes to first, and a 2-1 count to Todd Helton. 2-0. Favor of Colorado. Picked up a run in the first inning. 1 more so far here in the 4th. Dodgers have had 1 man get on base. Ellis led off the third with a double, ground rule double that bounced into the stands, and they left him at second base. 2-2 to Todd Helton. Here comes the pitch outside. Fastball at 90. So he goes all the way to Helton. That favors the Rockies in the sense the 2 fellas who run well, Blackman and Rutledge, they'll be off with the pitch. 3-2, 2 out. 2-0 Colorado, trying to beat the Dodgers and win the season series for the first time since 2007. Ryu plants a left foot. Hunjin looks in. The Dodger bullpen, they're up. No one's throwing for the moment. 3-2, runners hold, and it's fouled away. So the runners weren't really going. And it's a full count with 2 out. Blackman at the bag. Same for Rutledge at first. Ricky Nolasco begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. This time the runners go, and the ball is lifted off third, foul. Uribe hoping it will come back, and it did, and he backhands it, leaning on the railing. So Helton fouls to third. The Rockies get 1, leave 2, and at the end of 3.5 innings, as Todd walks away 1 for 3, Uribe takes 1 look at where he is, leans in, backhands it, and it's 2-0 Colorado. brought to you by Farmer Boys. Get an award-winning Farmer's Burger topped with farm fresh veggies, cheese, bacon, and avocado. By Chase. Send money to almost anyone, anywhere with your smartphone. Chase Quick Pay, so you can. And by El Pollo Loco. Crazy you can taste. Rockies lead the Dodgers 2-0, bottom of the fourth inning. Carl Crawford will lead it off. Jeff Francis slow breaking ball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Well, we're starting to see things clearly now. The Cardinals are going to play the winner Tuesday of the Pirates-Cincinnati game that's played in Pittsburgh. Crawford takes low. The Dodgers, since the Cardinals won today, the Cardinals have the best record. That's why they play the wild card. So the Dodgers will play Atlanta starting on Thursday. 1-1 pitch is swung on and missed, 1-2. Well, we told you that the Indians clinched the wild card in the American League. Who will they play? Either Tampa Bay or Texas. They came in tied. Tampa Bay won their game 7-6. Texas leading the Angels 3-2 in the seventh. So if the wild card teams wind up tied, then the team with the better record going head to head with the other would win the card. Crawford, a ground ball to the right side. Nice pick there by Rutledge, and a good stretch by Helton. So one away here in the fourth inning as Crawford grounds out. And the batter will be Michael Young. Well, for the Dodgers, if the Rockies win today, it will be a slice of humble pie, that's for sure. I mean, the Rockies, the last place team in the West, could beat the Dodgers 10 of 19 for the year, and the ultimate dignity, they could win 6 of the 10 here at Dodger Stadium. Michael Young, big swing and a miss, hit a bullet in the first inning, and that was backhanded by Nolan Arenado. Francis has allowed one hit, the ground rule double by A.J. Ellis. 1 ball and 1 strike. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez. One ball and 1 strike. Change off the plate. So he drops from like 92 to 78 with the change up. Next one in there. 2-2. Francis, both feet on the rubber. And sprayed foul upstairs. 2-2. A sellout crowd today, and that will add more interest. The Dodgers began the day 3,691,000, so it looks like they're going to finish up about 3,704,000. 2-2 pitch on the way off the plate. Dodgers, thanks to their great fans, averaged better than 46,000 a game. 3-2 pitch coming up. And a high fly ball to left field, going back as Culberson to pick it off. So we have 2 down in the fourth inning, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez.
23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Dodgers not only drawing the figure we just mentioned, about 3-7 at Dodger Stadium. They have played before approximately 6.6 million home and road. That would be the highest combined total in the majors since 2008. Adrian fouls it away, and once again he's looking at that triangle defense. Tulowitzki is on the other side of second base. Rutledge 10-15 feet on the grass in right field, and Helton deep at first. So Arenado all alone on the left side. 1 ball and 1 strike to Adrian. Rockies lead 2-0. Foul back. 1-2. Hitting behind Gonzalez, Mark Ellis. Adrian waits. Francis ready. Fouled off. Pretty good fastball in on the hands, as so many good hitters do. They fight it and just foul it off. The bad hitter usually either makes out on that pitch or swings and misses. Makes a huge difference. 1-2. 2-2. Rocky scored a run in the first inning, might have scored a ton, and Ryu got out of the game. Blackman walked. Rutledge and Helton singled to load the bases. Tulowitzki singled for a run, and there wasn't anybody out. But Ryu struck out. Kadire, Arenado got Culberson, though he certainly got away cheaply enough in the first inning. And down goes Adrian. So the Dodgers are tiptoeing through this one after the same thing last night. And at the end of 4, 2-0 Colorado. Four is here. Fox Sports Live, airing nightly on Fox Sports 1. Dodgers make 2 changes as we go to the 5th inning. Scott Van Slyke will pick up for Carl Crawford in left field. And on the mound, Ricky Nolasco. Nolasco, who struggled his last time out against the San Francisco Giants and Barry Zito in 5 2/3 innings in that game. He gave up 5 runs and 7 hits. So Ricky now will try to get well. He'll be facing Tulowitzki, Kadire, and Arenado. Some of the knowledgeable watchers, I mean baseball watchers, people who really know what they're talking about, people who experience the game firsthand, have said that Nolasco is perhaps throwing his fastball too much. He is not a fastball pitcher. That's what they tell me. And he should use his curveball more. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with Tulowitzki, Kadire, and Arenado. First pitch, pop foul out of play. Off speed. 0-1 the count to Tulo. Tulowitzki singled in a run in the first inning, struck out in the second, doubled and scored the only run last night. Had 1 hit and 3 at-bats in the first game. 0-1. Looked like a little slider. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ricky Nolasco, 6'2", 225. He'll be 31 years old in the middle of December. born in Corona and lives in Rialto. 1-1. Breaking ball inside. That was a really off-speed pitch, so he hadn't thrown a fastball, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. He's big enough to believe a fastball is his weapon. He's 6'2", 225. There's the fastball, fouled away, and it was at 90. 2-2. Ricky began playing T-ball when he was 4 years old. His father Emilio was born and raised in Mexico. Emilio came to the United States as a 19-year-old and fell in love with the Dodgers. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Troy Tulowitzki. Fastball just missed. That was 92. So he's made 5 pitches, started them off with 3 off-speed pitches, and has come back with 2 fastballs. So 3-2 to Tulo. And it's lifted foul off third. That's going to go back into the stands out of play. And winds up bouncing into the Dodger dugout. Pulls to Newcastle. And one of the Dodgers flips it back into the stands. All is well. 3-2 to Troy Tulowitzki. 25 home runs. The kid from Sunnyvale, who went on to school at Long Beach State. And a check swing on what looked like a change, and down goes Tulowitzki. So the fastball was thrown twice, and Tulowitzki strikes out a second time. So 1 out, and the batter now, the National League batting champion, Michael Kadire, struck out, grounded out, 0 for 2. He had a 12-point lead on Johnson of the Braves. Strike, 0-1. And that one was 73. So Nolasco really mixing them up right now. Kadire 0 for 2. Lifts a foul off to the left, out of play, back into the crowd. 0-2 the count. Rockies scored a run in the first inning and a run in the fourth. They've left 7. They've had 8 hits and a walk. So by rights, you would expect them to have broken the game wide open, but that's not the truth. 0-2 to Michael. That might have been out of the strike zone, but Kadire wasn't about to gamble with 2 strikes. Fouls it off. No balls and 2 strikes. And in the dirt, getting away. Ricky Nolasco getting in some work in relief of Hyun-Jin Ryu, who in 4 innings allowed 2 runs and 8 hits, walked 1, struck out 4. Ground ball to the hole, smothered at short by Michael Young. The throw is too late. Great effort, but it's beaten by Kadire for a base hit. So now the only man in the Rockies lineup, and we're only in the 5th inning, the only man in the lineup without a hit is Nolan Arenado, who struck out and then was robbed of a hit. A diving catch by Puig in the 3rd inning. Two runs and 9 hits. And here's Arenado. We're watching that Angel Rangers game. The Rangers are leading 3-2. They're in the bottom of the 7th inning. What would happen if Texas wins that game? Pitch at the plate, in for a strike. Texas would host Tampa Bay tomorrow to decide who would go to Cleveland for the wild card game on Wednesday. And then the winner of the wild card game would go to Boston for the division series. And of course, the prospect is rather remarkable. Should the Cleveland Indians survive, they go to Boston, headed by Terry Francona. Oh, what a dream that is. 0-1 to Arenado. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Michael Kadai with a base hit. 1 out, 5th inning, 2-0 Colorado. Dodgers heading for Atlanta, which means we'll probably see and hear the tomahawk chop. 1-1. Ball 2. I tell you, that's quite a feeling. I remember sitting in Turner Field the first time I heard it. The whole ballpark was doing that tomahawk chop and that sound that they make. I mean, it's goosebump time. I think that started with Florida State, the football team. 2-1 pitch. Sliced foul off to the right out of play. 2-2 the count. Imagine what it must be like if you're the hitter. 2 out, 9th inning, tomahawk chop, 2 men on base, whatever it is, and you're waiting for your turn at bat. Whoa. Wow. Then again, maybe I'm putting too much into it. Maybe these pros, they don't hear that at all. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ground ball to third. Uribe one hands, gets it to second. They'll turn it for 2. Nice stretch by Adrian. So Arenado bangs into a double play. He's the only Rocky on the outside looking in. Everybody else has at least 1 base hit. Colorado leads the Dodgers 2-0. Reminder, you can now secure postseason tickets with the purchase of 2014 season tickets. Learn more, visit Dodgers.com/season tickets or give us a call 323-DODGERS. Bottom of the 5th inning, Mark Ellis, Juan Uribe, A.J. Ellis. Rockies scored a run in the first, added another in the 4th. The Dodgers blanked last night for 9, so they've gone 13 now without a run. Ellis shows bunt, ball 1. In the 11-0 Dodger victory, they did not score in the 7th and 8th innings. So that would be 2 and 9 is 11, and 4 is 15. 15 innings. The Dodgers have failed to score a run. 1 and 1. 2 and 1. And ball 4. So remember, Jeff Francis had been used in relief. Now as a starter, and the pitches will begin to mount up. Juan Uribe flied to right, 0 for 1. Walt Weiss, I'm sure, keeping a very sharp eye out on how Jeff does. In fact, Manny Corpus gets up in the Colorado bullpen. Uribe 0 for 1, hitting .277. Out in front of that pitch, cued it off the end of the bat. Came up there at 77. He might have chipped the bat. He's walking away. Yep, he needs another bat. 0 and 1 the count. The modern bat, you can put a glass standing up inside the top of the bat, hollowed out, and he chipped it. No balls and 1 strike. Remember that night, maybe you were watching, listening, or here, one of the plate umpire, young umpire, didn't like the color of the bat. It was kind of red. Nothing came of it. And Uribe lifts one to the gap in left center. It's gonna drop in front of a diving Culberson. On his way to third, and safely there is Mark Ellis. Holding at first is Uribe, and the Dodgers now wake up the crowd. First and third, nobody out, and A.J. Ellis coming up. So Uribe, a little fly ball single that dropped in. First and third. A.J. Ellis followed by Skip Schumacher. Nice try by Culberson, but he wasn't really close. So A.J. Ellis, who bounced one over the right center field wall for a ground rule double, his first at bat. That was in the 3rd inning. And a strike. 0 and 1. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Chris Capuano now is beginning to loosen up. No balls, 1 strike. 2-0 Rockies. Dodgers threatening here in the 5th. And another strike. 85 miles an hour fastball up around the letters. AJ acting like maybe he thought it was a little high. 0 and 2 the count. And a fastball just missed inside. That was 87. 1 and 2 to AJ. Down from third, Mark Ellis. Away from first, Juan Uribe. They represent the tying run. 1 and 2. And strike 3 called. Great pitch. What he did, he went 85, 87, 84. And strikes out Ellis. 5 strikeouts for Jeff Francis. 1 away, and Skip Schumacher, who struck out with Ellis at second in the 3rd inning coming up. Scott Van Slyke bats 9th, and he's out on deck. And that's lifted back a third, slicing foul, drops untouched. Whoa, what an all-out effort by Nolan Arenado. And especially the final game of the year. He gave it his best shot. Arenado trying to help out his pitcher, risking injury at his own expense. Wonderful effort. Oh, and 1 the count. Arenado, fine looking young ball player. Light breeze blowing out towards right. Not much of a breeze. Throw to first, Uribe back. One out, 5th inning, 2-0 Colorado. Down in the bullpen with Manny Corpus, Roy Oswalt begins to loosen up. That's foul. Gonna crack the bat. He'll have to get another. Not broken. You could just hear that special sound. Another celery stalk. No balls and 2 strikes. Skip Schumacher. Meanwhile, Jordan Pacheco using the time to go out to talk to Jeff Francis. Francis came into this game 2-5. He's been around quite a while. He is 6-5 lifetime against the Dodgers, and in his career he is 2-2 here at Dodger Stadium. 0-2 to Schumacher. Ball 1. In the inning, Mark Ellis walked. Uribe's fly ball single, almost but not caught by Culberson to put runners at first and third. Francis came right back to strike out A.J. Ellis. Now he's 1-2 on Schumacher. Breaking ball, and it's going to be a base hit to center. In comes Mark Ellis. Stopping at second is Uribe. Dodgers finally get on the board after 15 innings flailing away without producing anything. And it is Schumacher who singles in Ellis. So Uribe now the tying run at second base. 1 out. Dodgers are certainly not wearing out Jeff Francis. They have 3 hits and 1 run. Van Slyke making his first appearance. Ryu batted in the 3rd inning and struck out. Oh, and 1. Scott Van Slyke hitting .236, 7 home runs, 19 runs batted in. With Ethier banged up and Kemp at least not available to play today, Van Slyke's role in the playoffs seems to be getting bigger all the time. 0-1. In the dirt. Nice save by Pacheco. They'll put a new ball in play. 2 on, 1 out, 2-1 Colorado, 5th inning. People come in and out of broadcast, so we'll repeat it every now and then. The Dodgers will go to Atlanta and begin the division series. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball away, 2-1. Francis certainly changes off the fastball. It's anywhere from 82, 83 up to 88. Once upon a time, he threw in the hard 90s. And he won 17. And stroke to the hole, backhanded nicely there for one, and a high throw to first keeps the inning alive. So Tulowitzki makes a nice play to get the force, and then the throw from Rutledge taking Helton off the bag. So Schumacher is erased at second base. Uribe, the tying run, is now 90 feet away. And Yasiel Puig coming up. With the runner at third being so important, Dodgers down by one. We'll check. Francis has 5 wild pitches. Helton had to come up, make a save, otherwise Uribe scores. Puig has struck out, grounded out 0 for 2. Tim Fedorovich comes out on deck. 2 out. Tying run down the line from third. Puig holding up a strike. 0-1. Puig 0 for 2. Average now dipped under 320. Just missed inside. 86-mile-an-hour fastball. 1-1 the count. Jeff Francis out of Vancouver. He lives in North Delta, Vancouver, British Columbia. 28 years old, 6'5", 220. One ball and one strike. Ball 2. Tim Fedorovich was out on deck, and now he's been called back. They're going to send up Alex Castellanos, and they'll save Fedorovich. 2 out, first and third. Count 2-1 on Puig. Score 2-1 favor of the Rockies. Two and two. The crowd groaning in disappointment anytime Puig makes a swing and doesn't connect. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. 2-1 Colorado. And ball 3. So with a full count, Van Slyke will be running from first. Uribe will walk down the line from third. And we'll see what Yasiel does with Castellanos on deck. Van Slyke goes and foul back. That was off speed in the 70s. You don't think it happened. You think all the hitters are out in front on changeups, but not necessarily so. Every now and then they're fooled like anybody else, and they're late. But not too often in the big leagues. 3-2 the count. Van Slyke goes. Ground chopper, foul. Still 3-2. Jordan Pacheco does the gentlemanly thing, picks up the bat and hands it to Yasiel. Van Slyke back to first. Uribe holding at third. 2 out, 5th inning. 2-1 Colorado. Three and 2 to Yasiel. Low for ball 4, and the bases are loaded for the pinch hitter, Alex Castellanos. So 2 walks in the inning by Francis. Walt Weiss making that slow walk out, look to his right, at first base umpire John Hirschbeck, but he didn't gesture. But we'll see what Walt does. Walt Weiss, in case you forget it, and you might have, but he was the Rookie of the Year for the Oakland A's in 1988. And of course, that's a very prominent number in Dodger history. Walt has a black belt in Taekwondo, so the pitchers don't argue with him, and Francis is going to stay in. Castellanos batting in the number 2 slot when the Dodgers made that double switch, bringing in Nolasco and Van Slyke. So Alex Castellanos, he's out of Miami, Florida. 27 years old and even 6, 185. Went to Belmont Abbey College and was originally drafted by the Cardinals. Breaking ball strike, 0-1. So Puig is at first, Van Slyke is at second, and Uribe is at third. Rockies trying to cling to a 2-1 lead. Off the plate. Castellanos doesn't play very much. He's only been in 7 games. He's only had 16 at bats. He does have a home run, a run batted in, hitting 188. It's asking a lot. If you don't play, it's hard to play well. 1-1. 1-2, 87-mile-an-hour fastball. So Castellanos batting for Nolasco, bases loaded, 2 out. 2-1 Rockies. And a breaking ball, a slow devil. That was 70 miles an hour after the 87-mile-an-hour fastball. Dodgers get 1, lose 3. Alston retired as Dodger manager, handed the reins over to Tommy Lasorda, and what a ride he had. 2 World's Championships, 4 National League pennants, and 8 division titles. And thank goodness, Tommy is still around, providing a lot of pep to a lot of people. And he's 86 years old. Let's go back to this one. Number 2, which of course was a very famous number in Brooklyn. It belonged to Leo DeRocher. And then Tommy, with his vim and fire, took over number 2. And he's been that way ever since. Last night, one of the highlights here in the ballpark, Tommy singing the great Sinatra song. And of course, Frank was a very close pal of Tommy's. My Way. A lovely night with Joe and daughter Laura taking in the game, and the crowd's plaudits. Jim Fedorovich will take over to handle Chris Capuano, and Alex Castellanos will remain in the game in right field. Dodgers struggling offensively. It has been so going back into Arizona, then San Francisco, and outside of that 11-0 explosion. But again, realistically, they beat the Rockies 11-0 with some fellas with not too much experience, McHugh and Manship. They gave up the 11 runs. So realistically, the Dodgers are struggling. They are 12-14 in September, and they're heading to face Atlanta in the division series. Capuano ready to work to Culberson, and ball 1. Culberson hit into a force play, single left, scored a run. That's off the plate. 2 balls, no strikes. In looking ahead, and of course they are relishing the combat, the opening of the division series, Dodgers against the Atlanta Braves. Who will open up? The 2-0 pitch, chopper to the right side. Mark Ellis, 1 away. Well, there's no doubt Clayton Kershaw is going to open up, but it looks like Chris Medlin will be on the mound for the Braves. Medlin's one of those guys who has done a complete about face. Chris started the year 1-6. Since then, he's turned it around to go 14-6. But even more importantly is what he's done in his last starts over the stretch. Chris Medlin, 5 wins, no losses, and an earned run average of 0.8. Yes, he sounds like someone to open up the series against Clayton Kershaw. Line drive, base hit into left field by Pacheco, and the catcher now is 2 for 3. Jeff Francis is due up, and he will not come up. Jonathan Herrera, an infielder, will come off the bench and face Capuano. So Francis, in a rare start after being once upon a time a 17-game winner, did very well. Waded through 5 innings, limited the Dodgers to 1 run. 1 run, 3 hits. So Jeff sitting back in the shadows in the dugout, a job well done, increasing his chances for a lot more employment next year with the Rockies. Herrera way out in front of that. 0-1. Herrera last night had one of those moments. In the 8th inning, A.J. Ellis had a hard ground ball, but it was playable. But he couldn't handle it for a huge error. So the Dodgers down 1-0. Then had a base hit and a walk to load the bases. Herrera, fly ball, shallow left center. Who is it? It's nobody. It drops in. Schumacher, coming from Pasadena, couldn't quite catch up to it. So Herrera, a fly ball single. Schumacher's had one hit over his head. Now he's tried to come in. Couldn't get there.
Center fielder, number 19.
No chance for Young to get out there. No chance for Van Slyke get there. So Capuano gave up the line drive single to Pacheco. Now the single by Herrera, and the batter will be Blackman. Blackman has walked, single to left twice. So 2 for 2, hitting .311. Rockies lead 2-1, trying to get some more with 1 out against Capuano. Strike. 0-1. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Nolasco went 1. Capuano is in. Chris Withrow now begins to loosen up. 0-1. In the dirt. Nice block by Fedorovich. So Tim picking up for A.J. Ellis. Capuano picking up for Nolasco, preceded by Ryu. Capuano could have an interesting role in the playoffs if he is healthy, and apparently he is. Dodgers then would have 3 left-handers in the pen. That's a shot down the line. Foul. 1-2. So 1 out, runners at first and second. 2-1 Rockies. Culberson. Single, scored a run. They got another run in the first inning, scored by Blackman. Now they're trying to pick up at least another here in the 6th inning. Pacheco at second, Herrera at first, 1 out. Punched foul, high breaking ball. Still 1-2. Charlie Blackman runs very well with all of his other abilities. Very good outfielder, playing center field. 7 for 7 in stolen bases. Meanwhile, the regular outfielders, the fellas you expected to see, we haven't had a glimpse. People like Dexter Fowler and Carlos Gonzalez. So they're looking at the young outfield. Culberson, Blackman, of course Kadire, not considered young, and he's the National League batting champion this year. 1-2 in the dirt. 2-2. So Pacheco, Herrera, and Blackman waiting at the plate. Big crowd today. Also very quiet. Sellout crowd. And the next pitch just misses. So full count with 1 out. Hitting back of Blackman, Josh Rutledge. Dodgers, meanwhile, a little anxious, I'm sure, the way they've been playing of late. 3-2. We'll watch the runners Pacheco and Herrera. And the fastball is strike 3 called. So Blackman caught looking in a big moment. He leaves now with runners at first and second and 2 out. Josh Rutledge has singled to right, struck out, reached on a fielder's choice. Rutledge 1 for 3, hitting .236, but 7 home runs. 19 runs batted in. On deck, Todd Helton. 0-1. Helton so far today, single, fly deep to center, and fouled out. No balls and 1 strike. Off speed, he missed with it. That floated up there at 79. And Ball 2. 2-1 the count. Big bouncer, short hop by Uribe, takes it to the bag for the force. So Capuano works his way out of a little jam, and at the end of 5.5 innings it remains Rockies 2, Dodgers 1. To the future and the battle for the division title, which will take place in Atlanta Thursday and Friday, then here at Dodger Stadium Sunday and Monday if necessary, and then the payoff game, if it goes that long, Wednesday in Atlanta. And that will be round 1 as far as the Dodgers are concerned in the playoffs. Dodgers trailing 2-1. They'll see a new pitcher. It's a veteran, Roy Oswalt, who had a great career with Houston. He was with the Astros, who signed him originally in '96. Roy from 01 through 10 was with the Astros. Then he went to the Phillies, briefly with the Rangers, and back now with the Rockies. And he's greeted with a fly ball to center field and the out. So Michael Young didn't waste any time. 1 down. That'll bring up Adrian Gonzalez, who lined out and struck out. Just as Jeff Francis, the starter, was a 17-game winner, the Dodgers certainly remember 2004. Roy Oswalt was a 20-game winner for the Astros. In fact, he had back-to-back years where he won 20. Tailed off a bit and came right back to win 17 in 2008. So Roy, 36 years old, an even 6, 190, Mississippi boy, born in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, and lives in Weir, W-E-I-R, Holmes Community College. Weir is a population of about 550. Can you imagine? Can you imagine coming from 550 and pitching before 40, 50,000 people? Well, certainly by now he's accustomed to it, but what about way back? 1-2 the count to Adrian, who was lined out. Helton made a good play and struck out. The usual defensive alignment. 3 men on the right side. The middle man, Rutledge, a good 20 feet out in right field. Adrian has lost 2 hits in the 2 previous games on balls through the infield, where the second baseman threw him out. All alone on the left side, Nelson Ariando, the third baseman. Two and two the count. Crack bat, ground ball to Helton. He'll feed Oswalt coming over. So that'll do it for Adrian. He goes 0 for 3. Dodgers have piled up 3 hits, 1 run. Mark Ellis grounded to third, walked, and came around to score the only Dodger run. The only Dodger run in about 15 innings. 2 out in the 6th, 2-1 in favor of the Rockies. On deck, Juan Uribe. Dodgers really have had only 1 rally. That was in the 5th inning. It started with a walk to Mark Ellis. Uribe's fly ball single put runners at first and third, nobody out, and the Dodgers got a base hit on Schumacher's single, and that was it. That's a strike. 1 and 2 to Mark. Fouled away. Two out, bases empty, 6th inning. 2-1 Colorado. It's been Ryu, Nolasco, Capuano, Francis, and Oswalt for Houston. Just did get a little bit of that fastball at 93. So Oswalt can still bring it. I'm sure the Oswalt family wanted to make sure you pronounced his last name properly. Instead of Oswald, the name tied right in with JFK and the assassination. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And a good fastball at 94. So Oswalt can still bring it. Take the testimony of Mark Ellis. And at the end it's 6, 2-1 Colorado. It is brought to you by AT&T. Rethink possible. By Toyota's nationwide clearance event. You can save big on every Toyota car, truck, and SUV. And by CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. Rockies leading 2-1, top of the 7th inning. Dodgers slowly but surely making changes as Drew Butera, normally a catcher, will take over at first base for Adrian Gonzalez. Before him, the pitcher tuning up is Chris Withrow. Earlier, Alex Castellanos took over in right field for Yasiel Puig, and about the same time, Van Slyke took over for Crawford in left field. So the batter will be Todd Helton in the 7th inning. Helton single to right, fly to center, fouled out to third. You know what I hope the Rockies do, and I hope we spot it and acknowledge it. It would be nice, let's say in the 9th inning, Rockies take the field and then take Helton out. You know, you've seen that happen a lot. Just have him kind of walk off the field, get a big ovation. Be a nice way to finish, but I think Todd wants to finish playing. 1 ball and no strikes. In there. Helton looked at Ryu. He did not see Nolasco. He's now watching Withrow. 2 balls, 1 strike. And ball 3. Todd Helton during the course of the year has walked 39 times. And number 40. 40 walks, 86 strikeouts. So Helton goes to first, and here's Troy Tulowitzki. Tulowitzki, the heart and soul of the ball club, certainly now that Helton will hang him up. And for Troy Tulowitzki, he's only 29 come the 10th of October. Foul back, 0-1. Tulo has hit as many as 32 home runs. He did that back in 09. He's also hit 30. He has 25 this year. He's one of the truly fortunate and gifted players. So many of them spend so long in the minor leagues. That's a fly ball into shallow right center. It's Schumacher making the play. Tulowitzki reached the major leagues 14 months after he signed his professional contract. 14 months. You think of Gene Machi of the Giants, 13 years in the minor leagues before he was called up, and you realize how fortunate Troy is. 1 away on the fly ball, and now Michael Kadire struck out, grounded out, single, the National League batting champion. And ball 1. Well, we were feeling sorry to an extent for Scott Akasaki, the Dodgers' great traveling secretary, because wasn't sure where we were going, Atlanta or St. Louis. That's been resolved. We are going to Atlanta. The 1-0 pitch fouled away. What about Tampa Bay? Now here's what's going on with Tampa Bay. First of all, the Rangers beat the Angels. Now Tampa Bay was in Canada, in Toronto. Tampa Bay will leave Toronto and fly to Texas for a one-game playoff for the right to fly to Cleveland for the right to go to Boston. Hello. 1-1, now 1-2. Yeah, these are the difficult times for anyone who has a very difficult job, traveling secretary. Kadire 1 for 3. Chased a bad ball, strikes out, winds up going 1 for 4. The Withrow can always tell the grandkids, I struck out the National League batting champion of 2013, Michael Kadire. Nolan Arenado struck out, robbed of a hit by Puig, and grounded into a double play. He is the only starter to have not had a base hit. Right, 0-1. Arenado would have joined the club except for that diving catch by Puig. That was way back in the 3rd inning. 2 out in the 7th. Helton at first. 2-1 Colorado. Little ground ball to first. Butera boxes it, picks it up, goes to the bag, and that's that. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end, 6.5. 2-1 Colorado. Well, they've done it. Take me out to the ball game for the last time during the regular season. Meanwhile, the Dodgers and the Rockies, still tough ball game, 2-1. Remember the Twitter poll question that we had? Who gets your vote for the Dodger Rookie of the Year? Well, you can see a little better than 2-1. Yasiel Puig over Hyun-Jin Ryu. And of course, I guess one reason you vote for somebody playing every day as opposed to a pitcher working every fifth day. Well, I assume that's pretty reasonable suggestion. Meanwhile, it's not very reasonable for what the Dodgers are doing. Not for a club heading for Atlanta for the division series, really struggling offensively. Juan Uribe fouls it off, 0-1. Ottavino appeared and got 2 outs last night. Adam is from Brooklyn, New York. Went to school at Northeastern University. He's a big man, at least 6'5", 230. Originally a first-round pick by the Cardinals back in 2006. 1-1. 1-2. Boy, at 6'5", big stride, he really comes right at the hitter. And Uribe badly fooled. 1 away. Don't forget, you can catch all the action of the Major League Baseball postseason this year on Fox and TBS, beginning October 1 with a National League wild card game on TBS. That will be Pittsburgh-Cincinnati in Pittsburgh. Francisco Liriano, a 16-game winner, will be on the mound for Pittsburgh. Johnny Cueto, who had been on the DL quite a while, he is forced to be the starting pitcher for Cincinnati. Under the heading of the best laid plans of mice and men, put the name Matt Latos, who came up with a sore arm. A nightmare for Dusty Baker. In the Dodger bullpen, a parade of pitchers: Ryu, Nolasco, Capuano, Withrow, and now Brian Wilson getting ready. Rockies lead 2-1. Tim Fedorovich finishing up behind the plate, hitting .234. That's in there. 2 balls and 2 strikes, they count. Ottavino, growing up in Brooklyn, was a Yankee fan, but his mom was a Mets fan. 3-2. He brings fastball, slider, a tight curve, and a changeup. Three and 2. Fouled away. Goes down. So that's 3 consecutive strikeouts. Mark Ellis struck out in the 6th. Uribe and Fedorovich strike out against Ottavino. And the batter now, Skip Schumacher, who struck out and singled in the only Dodger run. And a strike, 0-1. And 2. Dodgers really struggling. 9 strikeouts throughout the lineup so far. We're in the 7th inning. Fouled off. Adam Ottavino. When you hear somebody is a first-round pick, that really gets your attention. He was a big man on campus at Northeastern. Made a big start in college against the #1 team, Georgia Tech. I think that's one reason they were so impressed with him. Actually, a #1 never quite lived up to what they thought he would do. Fly ball to left field, going back a little is Culberson. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 7th inning. And at the end it's 7, 2-1 Colorado. To Atlanta, the Cardinals winning the wild card player, whoever that will be. There's a story about Henderson Alvarez of the Miami Marlins. He had a no-hitter today, the 5th in Marlins history. Alvarez became the 6th Venezuelan to throw a no-hitter in the major leagues. 1-0 victory over the Detroit Tigers. The strange part of the no-hitter, Alvarez did not throw the last pitch in a complete game no-hitter. The game was scoreless. He finished the top of the 9th inning, and the Marlins won it in the bottom of the 9th inning on a wild pitch with the bases loaded. Giancarlo Stanton brought home the only run. Alvarez was on deck, suddenly the proud possessor of the major's 3rd no-hitter this year. Homer Bailey and Tim Lincecum had the others. So it was odd, but boy, he will take it with both arms. A no-hitter for Venezuela's Henderson Alvarez. Michael Young is now moved over to play 3rd. D. Gordon has taken over at short. And we go into the 8th with Brian Wilson getting in a little work. Wilson working on Culberson. In 17 games, he's just been terrific. One reason, 4-1, 12 strikeouts, only 3 walks, and an ERA less than 1. I think there must have been some question when you have 2 Tommy John surgeries, how hard you can throw. Well, Wilson can throw hard. We've seen him hit 95 a lot. 1 ball and 1 strike. Breeze has picked up a little bit, blowing from left to right. Two and 1. Beautiful day, 85 degrees when the game started. 3-1 the count. Culberson hit into a force play, single left, grounded out. Everybody but their talented third baseman Nolan Arenado has a base hit for the Rockies, and Arenado was robbed by Puig. So 3-2 the count to Corey Culberson with Pacheco and then the pitcher spot. down in the Dodger bullpen, just about a pitcher an inning, J.P. Howell. It's been Ryu, Nolasco, Capuano, Withrow, now Wilson. And he misses for ball 4 to Culberson. And that'll bring up Pacheco. Jordan Pacheco flied to right, single to center, and single to left. Twice, however, he's been cut down on the bases. Once on a throw from the pitcher to third to get him. That was Ryu. And then once, ground ball to Uribe, who just ran to the bag. Ryan Wheeler is out on deck. He would be the pinch hitter for Ottavino. Foul back. No balls and 1 strike. Jordan Pacheco. Looking ahead when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th inning. Scott Van Slyke will lead it off. Then you would have Butera, the first baseman, followed by the pitcher's spot. 0-1. 1-1. We have the paid attendance today. 52,396. 52,396. That means the Dodgers this year, thanks to you folks, have drawn 3,743,527. 1 away. That collective crowd over the year is the 4th largest Dodger attendance in Los Angeles history. The team averaged, again, thanks to you, 46,216. Today marks the 29th sellout. That's the most since 1983, when we had 37. So Ryan Wheeler coming up. Ryan Wheeler batting for Ottavino against Brian Wilson. Wheeler, left-hand batter, and you have J.P. Howell in the pen, so I think Mattingly's going to make a move just to try and give everyone the experience they would probably see in the playoffs. So Brian Wilson comes in, walks 1, strikes out 1, and he'll give way to J.P. Howell to go up against Wheeler, and we'll be right back. Medlin on Thursday. Then you have Tehran on Friday. Mike Minor would be on Sunday here. And of course it figures to be Kershaw game 1, Greinke game 2, Ryu game 3. Ryan Wheeler facing J.P. Howell. And a strike. Another left-hand hitter on deck, Charlie Blackmon. For the Dodgers tonight, starting off with Ryu, who made 50 pitches. Nolasco made 17. Capuano made 18. Withrow 13. Wilson 9. So they use sparingly just to keep them sharp enough. 0-1. Ground ball to the right side. They will get 1. They will turn it and get 2. So Wheeler comes in, grounds into the double play. Howell has done his job, but it's still 2-1 Rockies. Of course, Todd Helton playing the last game of his illustrious career. As of right now, hitting .316, 369 home runs, 1,406 RBIs, over 2,500 hits, something like 2,519. Today, he singled in the first inning, flied deep to center in the second, fouled out in the fourth, walked in the seventh, and he is due to bat third. His last at bat will come in the ninth inning. And I'm sure as he stands here rolling those thoughts around, he's slowly seeing the end of a great career. Meanwhile, Chad Bettis is greeted with a base hit to right field by Scott Van Slyke. So the Dodgers again teasing the fans. They have the tying run aboard after the last 7 in a row had gone down. Dodgers shut out 1-0 last night, trailing 2-1 today. Bettis throws hard. Drew Butera coming up. He finished up at first base for Adrian Gonzalez. Father Sal caught in the big leagues for quite a few years. Ball 1. Drew Butera out of Evansville, Indiana, lives in Lake Mary, Florida. 6'1", 200, 30 years old, went to the University of Central Florida. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-1. Drew has a look at Tim Wallach. Wallach anxious for some company over there. Dodgers got Mark Ellis there, and he eventually scored, and that's it. Ball 2. The other Dodger who reached third base was Juan Uribe in the 5th inning. Kenley Jansen begins to warm up. He would be the 7th Dodger pitcher, each getting a little work following Ryu's 4. Two and one to Drew Butera. Puig struck out, grounded out, and walked in his trips today. Sliced foul out of play to even the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Drew Butera, the son of a major league player, and certainly one of his precious things. He has a picture from a father and son game playing in Cincinnati. Drew was about 2 or 3, dressed up in a red uniform, and he's right there with his dad, Sal. Ball 3, 3-2. Yep, memories are made of that for sure. So Drew battles, goes all the way. Full count. Castellanos, who got into the game as a pinch hitter, stayed in right field. He's on deck. Three and 2. Runner goes, fouled at the plate, so they'll have to try it again. And that took a bite out of Pacheco, so he has to walk it off, and he's shaken up. So bottom of the 8th inning, 2-1 Rockies. The catcher, who's caught every inning of the 3 games in the series, takes a foul ball and takes time out. The old trick, the plate umpire consuming some time, comes out and cleans it off, trying to buy some time for Pacheco. Foul ball got him, it looked like almost under the right armpit. Certainly got a good portion of the right arm. So Walt Weiss out there with the Rockies trainer, but like every catcher, he's just going to ask, can I throw the ball? Because that got him a little bit on the right arm. Tying runs aboard. They want to make sure Pacheco can catch. And I guess he's convinced everybody. They're slowly walking away. We were talking earlier about the Cardinals and the Braves and the Dodgers. Dodgers struggling in September. They are 12-14. The Cardinals went 19-8 in September, won 6 in a row to close, and down the stretch won 17 of 22. Runner goes, a high throw, but he's going to be tagged out anyway. So just like that, 2 outs, a sore arm Pacheco was still able to get it down there and nail Van Slyke. Four of the last 5 batters for the Dodgers have struck out. And the batter now, Castellanos, he struck out as a pinch hitter in the 5th inning. Now let's talk about the Braves. The Braves won 6 straight to finish up August, but they too struggled in September. Dodgers are 12-14. This game's up in the air. The Braves wound up 13-14 in September, but they did win 7 of the last 11 down the stretch. Ground ball to short, too low. Boy, Castellanos can fly down the line, but he's done. So are the Dodgers, and at the end of 8, 2-1 Colorado. And a high fly ball into deep right field. I don't believe it. A grand slam home run. That was back on June the 6th. Yasiel Puig had only been with the Dodgers a couple of days. It was a big home run hit against the Atlanta Braves' Corey Gearin, and it certainly was a highlight moment. It was just the beginning of the Dodgers really coming alive. They didn't really gel until the 22nd of June, and that's, of course, when they took off, had that remarkable run of winning 42 out of 50. Puig played today, went 0 for 2 with a walk. Dodgers using a pitcher an inning of late, and it's Kenley Jansen's turn. So it was Ryu, then Nolasco for an inning, then Capuano for an inning, then Withrow, then Wilson, then J.P. Howell for 2/3 of an inning, and now Kenley. Just getting ready. The big boy matching his number, 74 games, a record of 4-3. 28 saves and a great ERA, 1.9, facing Charlie Blackmon. Strike. What's nice about it, we're in the 9th inning, and batting third in the inning will be Todd Helton. So he'll have one more chance. Blackmon walked, singled twice, struck out, knocked in a run, scored one, and Helton waits. Ground ball to short. D. Gordon is there. Low throw. Nice pick by Butera. One away. The Dodgers and Ned Colletti and management will make a decision who they want on the 25 for the division playoffs, and that's not going to be easy. They do have until Thursday, the day of the game, to come up with the final 25. Ball one to Rutledge, single to right, struck out. Fielder's choice in a force play, so he's 1 for 4. Going all the way at second base. And on deck, tuning up, and I'm sure you've got to be thinking about it, Todd Helton. 1-1. Helton talked about the last game in Denver. It brought him to tears about he'll miss walking through the tunnel saying goodnight to the lady who always sat there for 17 years. So you wonder what he's thinking about right now. 20 years this ball club has been alive, and I've been a member of it for 17. Played in a division series, played in a World Series, won a batting crown, 5-time All-Star. And I'm 40 years old, and this is it. One more swing. One more sweet opportunity to hit a baseball as hard as I can. 2-2. Ball 3. Helton in the shadows now. He's been in the spotlight for so long. And he's going to come up with a man on base. And the applause begins to build as the crowd recognizes this will be his last at bat. The crowd is standing, and all members of the Colorado team is standing in the dugout, giving him a round of applause. This will be it. His last wonderful at bat. It has to be an emotional moment for him. He's not quite ready to get in there. So here it is. The game is meaningless. Who's rooting against him right now? Yeah, maybe Kenley Jansen after all. 0-1. But I'm sure never before has a home team understood the feelings of a visiting player. He did get a base hit his first at bat. I kind of wish he had saved and gotten a base hit for his last at bat. Looks at a strike. Well, he's human. You try to think, what's he thinking now? I don't want to strike out. I don't want to have my last at bat a K. Not that it's really that important when you've done all the great things he has done. 0-2. Not ready. Okay, bring it on. One and two. Top of the ninth, 1 out, 1 on, 2-1 Rockies. But this is seize the moment. Oh no. Isn't life the pits? I mean, you would think one time, and he still gets a standing ovation. Darn it. And that will be it. Of course, there is a bottom of the ninth, though I assume Todd will go back out on the field to play first base. Two down here in the ninth inning. Troy Tulowitzki. The past is Helton. Tulo is very much the future at 29. Whoops. When the Dodgers come up in the ninth inning, they still have some players they can use. They have Hanley Ramirez. I don't know if they bother using Hanley in this last game at all for an at-bat. Nick Punto has that ingrown toenail that's hobbled him. Can't use Andre Ethier. Probably can't use Matt Kemp. He has the sore ankle. They have Terry Hairston, Jerry, who's played a lot of positions all year, and the young left-hand hitting outfielder Nick Buss. 1-1 the count to Tulowitzki. There goes the runner. The pitch very high. No sense even throwing it. So Rutledge steals second easily. And Tulowitzki, an RBI man, will now try to pick him up. And if you think about, well, let's put Tulo on, you have the National League batting champion Michael Kadire on deck. Rutledge, by the way, you have to file that away for the future. He is 12 for 12 in stolen bases. So they've got a rabbit out there, Josh Rutledge. Check the pitch out of the zone. 3-1 the count to Troy Tulowitzki. And that's low. So 2 walks in the inning, 2 out, a stolen base, and Michael Kadire coming up. Kadire struck out twice, grounded to short, singled to short. He was 12 points ahead, though there wasn't any way he was going to be caught, hitting .332 to win the National League batting championship, and a shot to add a point or so to his average. Ball 1. Kenley Jansen, of course, one of the things that has made him so great this year, the strikeouts to walks. 16 walks and 109 strikeouts. Now he has 110 strikeouts but 18 walks. Foul ball off to the right, out of play. Paid attendance again, 52,396. Dodgers draw 3,743,527. 29 sellouts this year. Dodgers tremendously grateful for the patronage and the love of their fans as well. That's going to go foul. Crowd this year has been as alive and excited as any crowd I've seen at Dodger Stadium in years. Not just the numbers. Sometimes you can have a big crowd and it's kind of like wallpaper, but not this year. And got him. So Kadire strikes out, 3rd time today for the batting champ. And now it's up to the Dodgers. Bottom of the 9th inning, and they're trailing 2-1. Rex Brothers, who came in and shut down the Dodgers last night, will now be asked to tie it up in the bottom of the 9th inning. He'll be facing, to start off, Michael Young and then Dee Gordon. So we'll just wait and see what other surprise we might have. Jansen made 21 pitches to get him ready. J.P. Howell made 2 pitches. So the Dodgers today reunion Nolasco, Capuano, Withrow, Wilson, Howell, and Jansen. So that's 7 pitchers of the staff. Brothers becomes the 5th pitcher, and Michael Young will be the hitter. Todd Helton is at first base, talking to first base umpire John Hirschbeck. One last note: he wound up his career 2,519 hits, 998 of them for extra bases. 1 ball and no strikes. Young lined out to third, fly to left, fly to center. Began the game at short and finishing up at third. 1-1. Tough to see the ball. The pitcher in that spider web of sunlight and shadow, and home plate dark and shadow. Fastball away. 2-1 the count. Fouled away. 2-2. Rex Brothers, a fireballer, originally signed by the Rockies, out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. 6-footer, 210. Missed the corner. 3-2. And the tying run reaches first on a walk to Michael Young. We'd like to remind you to stay tuned for the on-field rally and the post-game show coming up when this ends. So Young at first. Dee Gordon finished up at shortstop. This will be a chance to swing the bat for him. Adrian Gonzalez went 0 for 3. Rockies 2 runs, 11 hits, and that's going to go foul. Dodgers have a base hit at double by A.J. Ellis leading off in the 3rd. They wound up with 2 hits in the 5th inning. And now 1 hit in the 8th, and that's it. So the Dodgers, who was shut out last night, have 1 run and 4 hits all day. 1 fouled. 0-2 the count to Dee Gordon. Gardner certainly hasn't played a lot, has 1 sacrifice. Starts to swing, foul tipped it and struck out. Plate umpire Bob Davidson indicating the foul tip. So 1 out in the 9th inning. And Mark Ellis going all the way at second base. Nick Buss comes out on deck. Young held on by Helton over there. Foul ball, 0-1. Good fastball, 93. An interesting thing about this year, this was certainly the year of the pitcher in the National League. You realize only 12 everyday regulars hit 300 in the National League. Pitchers like Zach Greinke, along with Clayton and the others on every staff. That's going to be a base hit by Mark Ellis. Down to second goes Michael Young, and the Dodgers with one out have the tying run at second base, and Nick Buss, the young outfielder, will be coming up. Who are the players who hit over 300? The 12 of them: Kadire, Johnson, Chris Johnson of Atlanta, Freddie Freeman of Atlanta, and then Yadier Molina, Jason Worth, Matt Carpenter, Andrew McCutchen, Alan Craig, Troy Tulowitzki, Joey Votto, Paul Goldschmidt, and Matt Holliday. So only 12 players. Clayton Kershaw blowing bubbles, relaxing, taking in the excitement. Dodgers trying to give their fans a thrill. And ball one. Nick Buss with the interesting middle name of Chili. Check swing, gets away all the way towards the backstop, and the runners move up to second and third. So with one out, the Dodgers suddenly have not only a chance to tie, they have a chance to steal it, thanks to the wild pitch. So Buss, with Fedorovich behind him. We're checking with the official score. It's so dark down there, it's hard to really see, and the word comes, it'll be a pass ball charge to Jordan Pacheco. That's all he needs after being hit on the arm in the 8th inning. And now Walt Weiss is coming out to talk to the plate umpire, Bob Davidson. Looks like a calm conversation as Walt goes back to the dugout. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Nick Buss. So the Dodgers, runners at second and third. Michael Young the tying run at third. Mark Ellis the winning run at second. The infield is up. 2-0. Now 2-1. I think part of why Weiss went up there, the scoreboard was incorrect. The scoreboard shows 3-0, and it's 2-1. Yes. So now the bases are loaded for the Dodgers on a walk, a single, a pass ball, and a hit batter. Turned him around to load the bases. Tim Fedorovich coming up with 1 out and a chance to win the game. Fedorovich appeared earlier in the game in the 7th inning and struck out. So a big opportunity here. And after Fedorovich, Skip Schumacher. Fedorovich hitting .233 as the Dodgers try to pull a rabbit out of the hat on the last day of the regular season. And ball 1. Well, leave it to the Dodgers, even to a meaningless game on the final game of the season. They put the crowd through the ringer. That's a strike. 1-1. Young is the tying run at third. Ellis is the winning run at second. One and two. Skip Schumacher waiting on deck. Infield is halfway. Way outside. That was a nice save by Pacheco. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Young, Ellis, and Buss all out on the line. And Fedorovich, down he goes, striking out a second time. And it's up to Skip Schumacher. For the Dodgers, they are an out away from finishing up September 12 and 15. In direct contrast to the Cardinals, who are blazing hot in September, and the Atlanta Braves, who did just enough to win, finishing 7 of 11. Foul ball, 0-1 the count. That was 94 miles an hour. You can imagine down there, lights are not on. That wouldn't help anyway. Bright canopy of blue overhead, and the pitcher is out there firing out of the sunlight. 0-1. 0-2. In the last couple of innings, Dodgers have had 6 batters strike out. They've been limited to 1 run and 4 hits. Then they got their 5th hit here in the 9th. 0-2. One and two. Rex Brothers, a very talented, hard-throwing left-hander, trying to close it up. And that's in the dirt, but not far enough. And the runners have to hold. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. So a lot of pressure on Pacheco. In fact, in watching Brothers pitch, immediately with a runner at third, you look it up, he has 3 wild pitches. So Young ties it, Ellis wins it. And a little fly ball going foul back into the stands. Just to complicate matters for Schumacher, he cracked the bat. So he'll have to get another. 52,396 on Fan Appreciation Day. A lot of them, I'm sure, will hang around for the rally. There'll be player interviews. There'll be other prizes given away. Two and two. And what an end for the Dodgers as the side strikes out to end a frustrating day. And for Todd Helton, the end of a 17-year career to match his uniform number. And what a career it was. And that'll do it. A rather emotional game, I'm sure, for somebody who is 40 years old and will now look on as a husband and father of 2 daughters. A well-deserved rest, and then whatever the future holds for him. 2 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Rockies. 1 run, 5 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. That will do it for us and for all of us, not only the upfront people like myself, the director, producer, but all the crew who worked so hard all year long to bring you the best we could do. I'd like to thank them immensely for all the work that they have done, and hope you enjoyed it along with the ride. And of course, we'll have a chance to talk to you on radio, and the games will be on TBS and Fox. So stay tuned for the on-field rally and the post-game show. Good afternoon, everybody. And to you, Christian.